यशोदानन्दना व्रजजनरञ्जना यशोदानन्दना व्रजजनरञ्जना यमुनतीरावनचारी यमुनतीरावनचारी जय राधा माधव जय कुंज विहारी जय राधा माधव जय कुंज विहारी Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Krishna Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare हरिनाम संकीर्तन की जय। हरे कृष्णा। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरयेत्। नष्टप्रायेषु अभद्रेषु नित्यं भागवतसेवया भगवतीरुत्तमश्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्टिकी। कृष्णाय वासुदेवाय देवकीनन्दनाय च नन्दगोपकुमाराय गोविन्दाय नमो नमः। Hare Krishna. Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, 3rd Canto, Chapter 3rd, entitled The Lord Pastimes Out of Vrindavan, text number 24. Puryam kadachit क्रीडाद्भिः यदु भोजकुमारकै कोपिता मुनय शेपुर भगवान् मतकोविद। पुर्यां कदाचित् क्रीडाभिर् यदु भोजकुमारकै कोपिता मुनय शेपु भगवान् मतकोविद। पुर्यां कदाचित् क्रीडाद्भिर् यदु भोजकुमारकै कोपिता मुनय शेपु भगवान् मतकोविद। यदुभुजा कुमारकै कोपितमुनयशेपो भगवान् मतकोविद Matajas Puryam kadachit kridabhe Yadu bhoja kumarake Kopita munayashepu Bhagavan matakovita. Translation, word to word. And Puryam, in the city of Dwaraka, Kadachit, once upon a time, Kridadbhe, by sporting activities, Yadu, the descendants of Yadu, Bhoja, the descendants of Bhoja, Kumarakai, princess, Kopitaha, became angry, Munayaha, the great sages, Shepuho, cursed, Bhagavat, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Mata, desire, Kovida, cognizant. Translation. Once upon a time, great sages were made angry by the sporting activities of the princely descendants of Yadu and Bhoja dynasties, and thus, as desired by the Lord, the sages cursed them. Purport. The associates of the Lord who were playing the part of princely descendants of Yadu and Bhoja dynasties were not ordinary living entities. It is not possible that they could offend any saintly man or sage, nor could the sage who were all pure devotees of the Lord be influenced to anger by any of the sporting activities of the princes born in the holy dynasties of Yadu and Bhoja, wherein the Lord himself appeared as a descendant. The cursing of the princes by the sages was another transcendental pastime of the Lord to make a show of anger. The princes were cursed in order that one may know that even the descendants of the Lord, who could never be vanquished by any act of material nature, were subjected to the reactions of the anger by great devotees of the Lord. One should therefore take great care and attention not to commit an offense at the feet of a devotee of the Lord. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamsha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamsha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Rishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Haripriye Vancha Kalpatarubhyasya Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Vrishthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pashyatya Deshatarinim. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. Welcome everyone for today morning Bhagavatam class. First of all, I'd like to take blessings from all the devotees who are assembled over here and also listening online. So we are entering into a pastime which is very deep. So I pray that I will have sufficient strength to convey the meaning properly. So seek blessings from Prabhupada and all Acharyas also. So discussion over here is about the Vidura and Uddhava. Vidura meets Uddhava and then he asks about the well-being of the Yadavas. And he already heard that some rumors that Yadavas have already left the planet. So he did not ask directly, but he asked about the well-being. So the direct answer would have been, no, the Krishna is no more, Yadavas are no more. But Uddhava doesn't answer that directly. He goes into the deep meditation on the pastimes of Krishna. In all the wonderful meditation was going on, all the Vrindavan pastimes, all the Dwaraka pastimes were going on for all these days. Wonderful section was going on. And now the Uddhava brings Vidura to the point where the Yadus have actually left the planet. The Maushala Leela, though it is called, and the disappearance of Yadus. So that section is just starting from here. And in this verse, the Uddhava is mentioning that at one point of time, the Yadus and the Bhoja, the princess, they made some offense towards the sages and they got cursed. So before going into the pastime, I'd like to present few points. The first thing comes is about the how do we get the knowledge about the Lord's pastimes and activities. So in the JOSD we understand that if you want to understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the Pratyaksha Praman, Anuvana Praman fall short and we have to approach the scriptures. And from the scriptures we understand about the activities of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. We are not supposed to rely on our own eyes or vision, or we are not supposed to rely on our own mundane understanding to really ascertain what actually happened with the Lord. So while the scriptures, but when it comes to scriptures, there are various scriptures. Multiple scriptures speak about the same incidences in a multiple different ways. So we have an example like Bhishma, Yudhishthir Maharaj is meeting Bhishma Dev after the Kurukshetra war. If you open Mahabharata, there is a long description of Raja Dharma, Kula Dharma, Stri Dharma that Bhishma Dev goes on giving. Then Yudhishthir Maharaj is supposed to rule, so the Bhishma Dev goes on giving lot of discourse on Dharma. But when it comes to Bhagavatam, all the discourse is just summarized in just one verse. And just said he spoke all this. And then the elaboration part is on the prayers offered by Bhishma Dev and the consolation that Bhishma Dev offers to Yudhishthir Maharaj and how Bhishma Dev highlights the Krishna as the ultimate factor in everything. So scriptures at sometimes different scriptures focus on various incidences that which has happened. So that is first point. And why do they do like that? Because essentially a scripture is not like a news reporter who is just telling what is happening out there in the street. So even the news reporters of nowadays, they have an agenda. Whom they want to promote, they will focus accordingly. So similarly, when you come to scriptures also have an agenda. So what is the agenda of the scriptures? To uplift the consciousness of the living entities. So you say, can we get somebody who does not have any kind of agenda? So suppose if somebody is shooting a particular event that is happening, and if you say to the person that you should shoot the event without any agenda, okay, then where should he shoot? Should he shoot the main, suppose the marriage is happening, should he shoot the main marriage people or should he just shoot anyone? So anybody, when he is doing something, he has some thought with which he does it. So every scripture also, when they are presenting various events, then they have a particular idea with which the scriptures are doing. The ultimate main purpose of scriptures is uplifting of the consciousness of the living entities. And uplifting of the consciousness of living entities doesn't happen abruptly. A totally conditioned living entity cannot be directly given the highest knowledge of prema bhakti. They are uplifted in a gradual, step-by-step way. So that's why we see various scriptures which cater to the living entities of various consciousness. So that's why we see a lot of differences. So one more example comes is about the Vritrasura pastime. In all other scriptures, Vritrasura is presented as a demon, and Indra becomes the hero who actually killed Vritrasura and saved the whole world. But when you come to Bhagavatam, Indra becomes subordinate to Vritrasura. The glories of Vritrasura are being spoken. Because the Bhagavatam content is to show the devotion to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, which is ahetuki apratihata, which is not hindered by any time, place, circumstance. And any person in any place can do that devotional service. So that's why Bhagavatam could highlight the devotional aspect of Vritrasura. Other scriptures are not presenting bhakti as ahetuki apratihata. So in other scriptures it becomes very difficult for them to highlight the devotional aspect of Vritrasura. So that one difference comes. So when Bhagavatam comes, in the starting, it said, Dharma projita kaitava atro. So it keeps away all the other secondary dharmas, and then Bhagavatam entirely focuses on the pure love of Godhead. And what is the direct agenda of Bhagavatam when it speaks? So that the love for a living, the Supreme Lord is generated in the living entity. So this is also the purpose. Brahmaji, Narada Muni also asked Vyasadeva to write. You have written all other scriptures where you have spoken about dharma, artha, kama, moksha, but you have not sufficiently glorified the Supreme Lord. Now you write a scripture where you glorify the Supreme Lord so that the living entities will develop the love for the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So dharma, artha, kama, mokshas are there in other places. So they can give some amount of peace in this material world, but at the end of the day, one revolves in the 84 lakh species within this material world. So unless one comes to the level of prema bhakti towards the Supreme Lord, it is very difficult to transcend the material modes. And especially in this age of Kali, where all other paths fall short, the pure love of God, the path of bhakti, which is very easy to follow and which also gives us the highest thing. So basically the scriptures have various different motives, so that's why they give different ideas have been highlighted. The second reason why we see differences in scriptures, what they speak, it is also because over a period of time the scriptures are not been properly preserved. It is said that Mahabharata has around 1300 various versions. There are some stories which are present in some parts of Mahabharata and they are not present in other parts of Mahabharata. So what is the original story that actually Vyasdev have written and what is something added in between? So we don't know. So we have some, from Chaitanya Charitamrita we see one instance. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu goes to Jagannath Puri and he had a discussion with Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya. So initially Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya is very much attracted to moksha, attaining mukti. And he presents the impersonal absolute truth as the highest. And after discussing with Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya develops lot of devotion to the Krishna. And then at the same time he develops lot of distaste for the mukti. So one time Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya comes to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and says, there is a verse in Srimad Bhagavatam which says, Tattenu kampa susumikshamana bhunjiva eva atmakritam vipakam hridvak vapurbe vidada namaste jivetayo mukti pade sataya bak. The Bhagavatam verse says mukti pade, so let us change it and put it as bhakti pade. So a person like Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya was tempted to change the Bhagavatam and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says, don't change it. Bhagavatam is pure and we just have to keep as it is. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu gives the actual meaning of what mukti there means. So actually the authentic acharyas, they don't change the actual text, but they just give the intended meaning to the particular text. But when the scriptures are not presented in a sampradaya and it is being handled by various other people, we cannot expect that kind of a authenticity. So that was one more reason why we may see so many types of different stories. Now we cannot tell which story is actual story and which story is added story. But then how do we do? So Jiva Goswami and other acharyas, they just present that Bhagavatam is the crest jewel of all the scriptures. Bhagavatam as a scripture is being preserved in the parampara, Gaudiya parampara from last 500 years, and even before that Sridhar Swami writes the commentary to Bhagavatam. And various acharyas have meditated on each verses of the Bhagavatam and they have given a lot of commentaries. So Bhagavatam remains as a pure scripture. And we can take the Bhagavatam as a benchmark to understand the people or instances that which are presented in the other scriptures. So in this way we will be saved from misdirecting and also we will be saved from what is being presented. And as far as the consciousness of the scripture that which is presented, so there is a the scriptures are meant to uplift the consciousness of a person. So we are being told where we are supposed to reach spiritually and where we are also given a process in which we are supposed to follow. So this is called as a sadhya and sadhana. In Chaitanya Charitamrita, there is a story. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu goes to East Bengal, current Bangladesh, as a teacher. And then he does a lot of teaching explosion for 2-3 months and he is about to leave. And then there is one Brahmana, Tapan Mishra. He was just hankering to meet Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and he comes at the last moment. Because what Tapan Mishra was doing was he was reading many scriptures. And reading many scriptures, he is completely confused what is to be obtained and what is the process to obtain it. So Chaitanya Charitamrita Krishna Karada Goswami writes, Bahu Shastre Bahu Vakye Chitte Brahma Hoye Sadhya Sadhana Shrestha Na Hoye Nishchay. If one becomes a bookworm, reading many books and scriptures and hearing many commentaries and instructions of many men, this will produce doubts within the heart. One cannot in this way ascertain the real goal of life. So in simple terms, if a person wants to get treated for any disease, he cannot go to 10 different doctors. He has to first fix a particular doctor, and then he has to follow the prescription given by the doctor. Similarly, it is also with the scriptures. We have to first understand what scripture is best and what we have to understand, and then from that scripture we need to take the guidance. So, the Shastra, the Acharyas present Bhagavatam as the scripture which has arisen in this dark age of Kali to dispel all the darkness. The Bhagavatam is a crushed jewel. It is said as the ripened fruit of the Vedic literature. The essence of a tree is the fruit. So, if we get the Bhagavatam, then we are going to get all the Vedic scriptures. And the consciousness-wise, Bhagavatam is presenting highest. And the authenticity-wise, Bhagavatam being preserved in a parampara, it gives a right, authentic knowledge. So, why I am presenting all these things? Because when the instances of this Krishna leaving this material world, it comes, so there is a lot of doubts that will rise. Is Krishna is also like an ordinary human being? Are Yadus doing offenses towards the sages? So how do we understand them? So to counter all that doubts, it becomes difficult when we approach other scriptures. So that's why we need to take shelter of Bhagavatam. So currently Bhagavatam, it doesn't go, so in the verse it is said, the Yadu Kumaras, they went in front of the sages and then they did some sporting activities in front of the sages. Yeah. The 11th canto of Bhagavatam, it presents even more detailedly what happened. The whole of the sages were present over there. The sages Vishwamitra, Asita, Kanva, Durvasa, Bhrugu, Angira, Kashyapa, Vamadeva, Atri, Vasishta, along with Narada and others, once performed fruitive rituals that award abundant pious result, bringing great happiness and take away the sins of Kali Yuga. So these sages who were doing the were assembled over Dwarka over there, they have assembled to do what is called as perform a fruitive ritual. They have assembled. But very nice thing is presented. It rewards abundant pious results and it brings great happiness. So Acharyas present that when you do a fruitive ritual, it is very tiresome. And the result that which comes out of a fruitive result is after some time. You do something over here and you get punya, and the result of punya will come after some time. And there are some activities like taking care of children. This is example given. The way you take care of children, you get happiness. So that is also one of the activity. So how can a fruitive result, which is something like doing yajna, is giving happiness, which can come from other family activities? So Acharya, they say that it was not just a simple fruitive ritual activity, but they were doing a devotional activity. So that's why they were also getting happiness while they were doing, and also that is going to give them happiness afterwards also. So after they completed this ritual, The sages duly executed these rituals in the home of a chief of Yadus, Vasudeva, the father of Lord Krishna. After Lord Krishna, who was staying in Vasudeva's house as time personified, respectfully sent the sages off at the conclusion of the ceremony, they went to the holy place called Pindaraka. So from the Dwaraka, they went to a place called as Pindaraka, and after Krishna has been sufficiently concluded the ceremony. And here also, very nicely, the Krishna is called as Kalatmana. Vasudeva's house as time personified. The Krishna is staying in the house of Vasudeva as a time personified. In the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna, after he shows Vishwarupa, Arjuna asked him, "Who are you?" So Krishna was a friend of Arjun, who was sitting on the same chariot, but Arjuna still asks, "Who are you?" And then Krishna says, "Kalosmi, lokakshaya krita pravruddho." So I am time, I have come to destroy the whole world. So the main point of the time is of destruction. So somebody says like, people, they say like, when will my time come? So when will my time come means, when time comes we are going to die. The actual time when it comes. So Krishna, the destruction of the Yadu dynasty is because of the will of Krishna. That is also presented in this verse over there. And the next verse says, at the holy place the young boys of Yadu dynasty had brought Samba, the son of Jambavati, dressed in woman's garb. Playfully approaching the great sages gathered there, the boys grabbed hold of the sages' feet and impudently asked them, feigned humility, "O learned Brahmana, this black-eyed pregnant woman has something to ask. She is too embarrassed to inquire for herself. She is just about to give birth and is very desirous of having a son. Since all of you are great sages with infallible vision, please tell us whether this child will be a boy or a girl." So this is actually the prank that the Yadu boys were playing on the sages. They have dressed Samba as a woman and as a pregnant woman, and they have gone in front of all the sages, and in a cunning way, impudently, they are just asking, "Oh, you are so learned people. If you are so learned, please tell us what is the child going to be? Is a boy or a girl?" And then the sages, thus ridiculed by deceit, the sages became angry, O king, and told the boys, "Fools, she will bear an iron club that will destroy the entire dynasty." So this is a curse that the sages have pronounced, that there will be an iron club that will be born out of this person who is dressed as a lady, and that club will become a cause for the destruction of the Yadu dynasty, not just these people. So this is a curse that will just come upon the Yadavas, and the boys, they just quickly ran to the king Ugrasena to try to see what is to be done. So further descriptions will be given by in the future speakers. We'll just try to meditate on the purport that Prabhupada has written. In the purport, Prabhupada speaks about the 3 points. In the beginning, Prabhupada writes, "The associates of the Lord who were playing the part of a princely descendants of Yadu and Bhoja dynasties were not ordinary living entities. It is not possible that they could offend any saintly man or sage." So offenses, the point that Prabhupada is presenting, first point is, the descendants of Krishna cannot offend sages. Not offend any other living entities, but cannot offend sages. So we generally say, familiarity breeds contempt. When person becomes too close, then we tend to offend people. So the dictionary definition of contempt goes like this: the feeling that somebody or something does not deserve any respect or is without any value. So this is actually the feeling somebody has within. So this is where the offense actually happens. When two friends meet, they may beat each other, they may laugh at each other, but that is not considered as an offense. When you have a particular relationship and when internally that respect is there, externally it may come out in a playful way. But because internally there is a respect and internally we do give value, even though external activity is little mischievous or playful, it is not considered as an offense. So what actually constitutes an offense is an inherent disrespect that a person has towards other. And also when we doesn't consider that others have any value. Specifically in the modern culture, when we respecting somebody and being close, this is seen something as an oxymoron. If you respect someone, then you will be too respectful and you will be too distant, and to be intimate you have to be very close, like beating, using some simple words. So that is also thought of. So but when we come to the Vedic culture, it gives a harmony between being respectful and also being intimate. Sometimes, the point is, in the modern culture, sometimes when we are too intimate, we may not be so much respectful. But the Vedic culture, it presents a situation where a person can be intimate also and can be respectful also. So it is given in the story of Devahuti. Devahuti was serving Kardama Muni, and how she was serving, it is said that she was serving with Sauhardena and Gauravena. She was serving with intimacy, and at the same time she was also having a lot of respect also towards the Kardama Muni. So this harmony is there in a normal Vedic culture, and what to speak of the devotees. So when we talk about the devotees of the Supreme Lord, specifically the Yadavas, the description of the Yadavas comes in the 10th canto, 90th chapter. It presents 90th chapter, it presents the Mahishi Geet, and after that it comes about how Krishna expanded his family. With every wife he was having 10 children, 10 boys and 1 girl, and how he was expanding. And Shukadeva Goswami speaks about the Yadava clan that which has been expanded by Krishna. 10th canto, 90th chapter, 39 verse. No one born in the family was poor in wealth or progeny, short-lived, weak or neglectful of Brahminical culture. So none of the Yadava clan were neglectful of Brahminical culture. They were very much respecting the Brahmanas. Yadu dynasty produced innumerable great men of famous deeds. Even in tens of thousands of years, O king, one could not count them all. So Yadav clan are not some spoiled children of the wealthy man. So sometimes that happens in this current age. When a person is poor initially and he struggles very hard to become rich, and he thinks that I should give my children all the facilities, and he gives all the facilities, and as a result the next generation gets spoiled. So people have that kind of impression also towards the Yadavas. So being the children of Krishna, they may be spoiled. But Bhagavatam, Shukadeva Goswami doesn't present like that. First thing it said, they're all they were never neglectful of any Brahminical culture, and they are having very men of great and famous deeds, and nobody can even count how many good deeds they have all been doing. So Shukadeva Goswami goes further and says, because Lord Krishna is Supreme Personality of Godhead, Yadavas accepted him as their ultimate authority, and among them all those who were his intimate associates especially flourished. So all the Yadavas were intimately in connection with Krishna. And this also brings to the point, when we are in touch with Krishna, all the anarthas are vanquished. Where there is sun, there cannot be any darkness. So when the Prabhupada says here, Yadavas are not ordinary people, the one way of understanding is they are all great, powerful people. They are all people with mystic siddhis, maybe flying in the air or different kind of material facilities, material power. That is one thing. But one more thing to understand is they are not like ordinary people, means they are not coming under the control of kama, krodha, lobha, moha, mada, matsara. They does not envy one another like a common man. They does not get angry with one another like a ordinary common man. They are not lusty after the material possessions like a common man. These also we have to consider. So what is the position of Yadavas? The next verse is, the Vrishnis were so absorbed in Krishna consciousness that they forgot their own bodies while sleeping, sitting, walking, conversing, playing, bathing, and so on. So even in the normal activities, they were completely aloof of their bodily consciousness because they are completely absorbed in Krishna. And when somebody is completely absorbed in Krishna, having some material inabilities, that is not there. Yasyasti bhaktir bhagavati akinchana sarve gunai tatra samasate sura. So that is the quality of bhakti. When somebody is so focused in bhakti, all the divine qualities of the demigods, they automatically manifest in them. So disrespecting the sages and making fun of the sages, that is far away for the Yadavas. So even the next verses that which come, the Shukadeva Goswami also presents how they were respectful with the Brahmanas at each and every activities they were doing. So regarding the consciousness of the Vrishnis, Parikshit Maharaj also asked two verses. In the 11th canto, first chapter, he says, Yadavas were dearest to Krishna. The word used is ekatmanam, acting on his behalf only. The Yadavas were always acting on the behalf of Krishna. And then the one more words that he used is Vrishninam Krishna Chetasam. Yadavas were absorbed in Krishna. Because of this, the curse could have no power. Yeah. So they were completely absorbed in Krishna. So the point is, when somebody is so much absorbed in Krishna and so much trained in Brahmanical qualities, it is not a natural, it is not a, they could not have done such an offense towards the sages. And yeah. So regarding these Vrishnis, some of the so-called self-help gurus of this time, they just present saying that Krishna was so busy in setting right the, he was busy with the politics in other places that he did not give time to his own family. And then the children got spoiled. But when you come to Bhagavatam, the point that is present is completely different. Krishna had 16,108 wives, but he was not neglecting any of them. He was expanding into 16,108 forms and spending sufficient time with all the wives and all the children he was playing. So Bhagavatam mentions how Krishna was doing all the activities that a normal grahastha will do with his family, and he was sufficiently giving time to them. And Krishna was also training their children very much. There's a pastime of Nriga that comes in Bhagavatam, 10th canto. So Nriga was a king who got cursed to become a lizard, and then he was in a forest, and then he got delivered, and the whole story of Nriga comes. So after the Nriga goes back to a heavenly abodes, the Krishna gives instructions of how one should be careful about protecting the property of a Brahmana. So there also Krishna is giving instructions to his children, to all the Yadava clan. It is not that Krishna was only playing with the children and he is not training them. Krishna was doing that part also. So this is first part that Prabhupada was saying, that the princely descendants cannot offend the sages Firstly, because they are well trained by the Krishna, and secondly, being in the presence of Krishna, they are beyond the material consciousness. The second point that I want to present over here is about the sages. The Prabhupada says, nor could the sages who were all pure devotees of the Lord be influenced to anger by any of the sporting activities of the princes born in the holy dynasty of Yadu and Bhoja. So here Prabhupada seemingly accepts that they were doing some sportive activities. So sometimes it is said, the Vaishnava Kriya Mudra Vijnana Bhujai. So Vaishnava, when he does something, the actual intention is not completely known, because the actual intention, mood with which a Vaishnava does is out of the love for Krishna. Even if whatever he is doing, it is all filled with the love for Krishna. Even if the activities are unconventional. But the way the normal person acts is with the greed, the desire for name, fame, that will be there in a normal person. So when a normal person is trying to see a Vaishnava, how he is acting, he will get bewildered. And sometimes Vaishnavas can go even more bewildering also. If we come to Chaitanya Charitamrita, we see lot of pastimes of Nityananda Prabhu and his associates, which are seemingly completely bewildering. So there is one nice incident presented in the Chaitanya Charitamrita Adilila, 5th chapter. There is a story of Miniketan Ramdas. He was an associate of Nityananda Prabhu. And he was also completely transcendental. Always he was maddened in the love of Krishna, always chanting, dancing. And once he was called to the house of Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami. He was so transcendental that when somebody is paying obeisances to the Lord, he may come and sit on him. Like the small children sit on the back of a father when the father is offering obeisances. He will go and sit on them. Like that also he sometimes behaves. And he may slightly slap a person. Not beat them up, but give a mercy, like slight slaps. So like that his behavior was little esoteric, thoda sa difficult to understand or grasp. But what Krishna Kaviraj Goswami says about it is, he was always filled with the tears of love of Godhead, and whoever sees him will also develop the tears of love of Godhead. So that was a position that Miniketan Ramdas was having. So when he enters into the Krishna Kaviraj Goswami's house, there was a Brahmana who was doing deity worship, Gunarnava Mishra. So he did not pay any obeisances to Miniketan Ramdas, because he thinks that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is supreme. But Nityananda Prabhu is not that supreme. So there was some people at that time who used to give value to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu but not to Nityananda Prabhu. And then Miniketan Ramdas starts telling, this is one more Romharshan Suta. He is not giving respect to Lord Balram. And then Gunarnava Mishra also does not feel any offended. The thing just passes off, and Miniketan Ramdas again goes on with his dancing, kirtan, and then associating with others. But towards the end of the ceremony, the brother of Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, surprisingly his name is also not given in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, he starts a fighting with Miniketan Ramdas, because he completely not in a position to respect Nityananda Prabhu because of his esoteric behavior and also his followers. And because of that offense, the controversy just broke about between the two, Miniketan Ramdas and brother of Krishna Kaviraj Goswami, and they go into verbal fight, and then At the end, Miniketan Ramdas becomes so angry, he broke the flute that he was carrying and then he just goes away. And then after that, what happens? It said that the brother of Krishna Kaviraj Goswami, he fell down from the devotional activities. The story goes ahead, but the main point is the actual substance of a devotee is the devotion that a person has towards Krishna, the devotee has towards Krishna. The Bhagavatam presents 32 qualities of a Vaishnava. So out of all the 32 qualities, the primary quality is Krishnaika Sharanam. That one is surrendered to Krishna. And there are other qualities like humility or mrudutvam, being pleasingly talking, but all the other are secondary, which come afterwards. For a normal conditioned soul, he will appreciate the secondary qualities, but he will not be able to understand the primary qualities. So that's why it becomes very difficult. But here, the Prabhupada writes, the sages who are all pure devotees of the Lord. So when the pure devotees of Lord are in the question, they can easily understand the devotion of a devotee. And they can easily sideline the not so respectful behavior from a devotee. So sometimes even we go to Vraja and there we come across a lot of monkeys who steal the spectacles or various items. And we may come across pandas in various temples who may pester us. But at the end of the day, we understand that these all are the residents of Vrindavan, being born in Vrindavan. This could be their last birth and they are going back home, back to Godhead. With that understanding, we just are asked just to tolerate whatever they are doing. So that becomes a purification for our part. So we are not supposed to judge what they are doing, but we just have to accept that their actions for our purification. So that's the way a normal devotee is asked to deal with the Vaishnavas. And here the sages are all pure devotees of the Lord. And then it cannot happen that the pure devotees of the Lord are not able to understand the devotion of the Vrishnis and the Yadava clan. And they got disturbed by their sportive activities and at the end they cursed. So this could not have normally happened. The first thing, the sages will not come under the anger when they are being ridiculed. So the quality of a Brahmana is the tolerance. How much ever Brahmana is being ridiculed, he keeps on tolerating when it comes to personal thing. Because as a tolerance is the hallmark of a Brahmana. And here specifically, all the sages are called as the pure devotees of the Lord. They can easily understand the devotion of the Yadavas and sideline their sportive activities. They can easily take them as a sports. But still, what has happened is the sages ended up cursing not just the boys who were playing, but the entire Yadu clan. So that's why the special extraordinary thing that which is happening, and this can be understood as the will of the Lord. So that is the second thing. The third thing, towards the end of the purport, Prabhupada writes, what we can learn from this. The cursing of the princes by the sages was another transcendental pastime of the Lord to make show of anger. The princes were cursed in order that one may know that even the descendants of the Lord, who could never be vanquished by any act of the material nature, were subjected to the reaction of the anger by the great devotees of the Lord. So this is what Prabhupada is warning us, who are the sadhakas, that we should not be thinking ourselves as an advanced like Yadus and then start being sportively disrespecting other Vaishnavas, but we should be careful. So from this pastime, the lesson that Prabhupada draws over here is, when the devotees are being disrespected, Lord will not spare even his own clan. So we should not take risk of offending the devotees. Specifically, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur also originally presents this in this mode, because there are various reasons that various acharyas were giving. And all the acharyas, they just present, it is just the will of the Lord. It is just the will of the Lord. There is no fault on the part of Yadavas. But when you come to the Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, he presents what we can learn. And then Prabhupada is also writing from here. He says that there are some of the Yadavas who were not in line with what Krishna wants to teach, and they were actually making fun of the sages, and because of that Krishna was punishing them. And who are they? And Prabhupada, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, he writes, he talks about Prakrita Sahajiyas. Yeah, just finish in 2 minutes. The Prakrita Sahajiyas are the followers of the same Gaudiya Parampara, but they just assume themselves as pure devotees of the Lord without undergoing any preliminary purificatory processes. So Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur writes there are two processes. One is Vaidhi Bhakti, where we follow all the rules and regulations and purify our heart. And then there is Raganuga Bhakti. And Sahajiyas, they directly take up to the Raganuga Bhakti and they start imitating the pastimes of Radha Krishna. And some of the Sahajiyas even dress themselves as gopis, the men dressing them as gopis. And Saraswati Thakur writes, the Samba was taken as an example for showing what is going to come. And what the result that these people are going to get, also we understand from what Samba is getting, that they will be ultimately cursed. And then he essentially, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, he brings up us to the point of saying that one should not consider oneself to be very highly elevated devotee of the Lord and end up criticizing other devotees who are regularly following all the rules and regulations nicely. So Shruti Smriti Puranadi Pancharatri Vidhim Vina Aikantiki Harir Bhakti Utpatayeva Kalpate. So all are supposed to follow the Shruti, Smriti and Puranas, and as a sadhakas we are supposed to follow all the rules and regulations very stringently. So here the warning is that one should not cross the line and consider himself to be a very pure devotee and then start commenting on other Vaishnavas who are sincerely following the rules. So this is the third point that Prabhupada is presenting over here. So to summarize, so initially we have just spoken about various scriptures present various instances in different light, because various scriptures have various agendas. The level of elevation that various scriptures are trying to get is different. So that's why various scriptures focus on various different pastimes and different angles the pastime is being presented. So the safe is we read from the Bhagavatam and from the Acharyas and see the instances in other scriptures also in the light of Bhagavatam. So that is the first point. And the secondly, the 3 points that Prabhupada has presented. The first thing, the Yadavas being the descendants of Krishna, they cannot be neglectful of a Brahmanical culture, and it is there not a normal thing that they will disturb or play with the Brahmanas. And second point was, the Brahmanas who are pure devotees of the Lord, in normal cases, they will not take the sportive activities as an offense and they will not curse. But this is a very special thing that which has happened. And the third thing that Prabhupada writes is, we should be very careful not to offend the devotees. So, we'll just stop here, as we're over time. If there are any questions, we can take afterwards. Thank you for your patient listening. Grandraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki, Srila Prabhupada ki. Yes.